Hey, it's Tim.
And it's Amy from GoWithLess. We're really glad you're here with us today. In today's video, we're going to be doing an update to a video we did a full year ago about domiciling in Texas. We're going to break down a little bit about what this domiciling in Texas means, and we're going to talk about how we're getting our mail on the road as full-time nomads. There's a lot going on here, so I hope you'll stay tuned for the whole video.
Every Wednesday here on our channel, we come out with a new video, typically talking about our early retirement or our nomadic lifestyle. In 2015, we retired in our late 40s and launched into retirement. And in January of 2020, we sold our home and became full-time nomads. And as we get going here, I have a confession to make, and that is I love the mail. And so it's very exciting for me to get the mail. And so this service for me wasn't just about simply getting the mail. It was about, I don't know. So there's something more for this for me that I'm
Tim's
weird.
obsessed with
I'm
mail.
obsessed with mail.
He's obsessed with it.
Yes, I am.
Okay, we're going to do the video in kind of two parts. The first part is going to be all about the mail service, and it's going to be pretty specific to the specific mail service we use, because that's all we know about. But we have loved it, and it has risen even above our expectations, so we really want to share about that. The second is more of an optional thing, I guess, is making your domicile in Texas. And we're going to talk about how that went for us as well. So first, who do we use? It's a service called Escapees RV Club. They're based in Livingston, Texas, which is part of Polk County. They have a couple satellite offices in a few other states, but we have been just blown away with their customer service. It's very affordable. It is they kind of have an annual fee, and it depends upon what kind of service you use. And I'm gonna, before we get into like the meat of what we are using, just a heads up is that we were planning to be out of the country starting in January for most of the time, and we were looking at options for that situation. Our plan has changed because we've been in the United States the whole entire 2020 with COVID, so that kind of colors what's happening a little bit.
Yep. So I'm going to clarify here quickly. So there's a fee that you pay annually to become a member of, or to be a member of the RV Club. I think it's about $40. And then depending on what mail forwarding service that you want, you pay a fee depending upon that. I think there are 3 tiers to the mail service. There's a base tier, which we are on, and then there's a mid-level tier, and then there is the highest tier, which actually they'll scan your mail.
That's a separate thing.
That's a separate thing.
The scanning is separate.
Yep. And so that's exactly right. So
how much do you want forwarded?
How much do you want forwarded? Do you want scanned, etc. And so we're on the base level, and that was what they actually recommended that we do just starting out. And so what that means for us is that we call them whenever we want to have our mail forwarded, and they will send it to us. And the cool thing is that we just simply tell them what level of service we want. Do we want the mail to show up in 7 days? Do we want it to show up in 3 days? Do we want it to show up tomorrow? And they will help us filter through, what do you want? Do you want UPS service? Do you want FedEx service? Do you want a priority
overnight
mail? And they will send it to you and just charge you based upon the service that you choose. And so far our mail, each time we've actually requested it, I think it's cost somewhere between $7 and $10 depending upon the weight of the mail. I think every time we've chosen second day service, and that $7 to $10 has covered every mailing that we've had. And I think we've done it 4 times, sweetheart?
Something like that. So, maybe I don't even remember. 4 or 5 times. It's worked beautifully, and it comes in like an 8.5 by 11 envelope. Now, Tim and I have been working to reduce our mail, but still, selling our home had a whole bunch of mail come with that. Leaving Colorado, whole bunch of mail coming with that. So there's just mail that you don't expect that keeps coming. So while we keep trying to reduce it, it keeps coming, and hopefully we're getting less, but we're not getting to nothing. And the cool thing is this Escapees is a real address, and it satisfies the real address requirement needed to get a credit card and things like that, at least for us. We have had 0 issues with this being an address. And the really, really cool thing is we went and visited their facility. It is huge. It's like an hour tour of their facility. It's been going for decades, and they have their own zip code. And the town, this small town, I believe there's over 10,000 people like Tim and I who are in this service. And I believe that makes up like 75% of the town or something like that. And we'll get into why that is such a big deal in the second part. But it's like a huge thing. So this is not like a teeny tiny mom and pop thing. It's also run by attorneys.
Yeah, I think something also to note is, so the name of the organization probably gives you a clue, the Escapees RV Club. This is primarily set up to support people who are RVing around the country, people who have sold their home homes and they just have an RV and they're traveling in their RV. So we are a bit of an anomaly. There are other people who use this service who don't have a home and they're traveling like us in Airbnbs and house sitting and doing things around the world.
International.
However, it's primarily set up for people that are RVing. But our situation is, for all intents and purposes, identical, but that's primarily their clientele are people in RVs.
And I think that they said that we're like in the 5% or something like that. We do have, I'm thinking of at least 3 other couples we know who use the service. They've all been just as thrilled. Now, their customer service is incredible. And say you're getting a credit card or you're getting an important piece of mail. Just call them and say like, hey, did this piece of mail end up in my mailbox? They'll just put you on hold, go check your mailbox and let you know whether or not that came in. So maybe you don't want to be sending your chunk of mail until you get something there that you've been expecting, and no big deal, they'll let you know. And I mean, there's people who on the tour we learned get their mail every single day. So they forward their mail every single day because maybe they're like Tim, they love the Daily Mail or something like that. But we only do it once every month or two because again, most of our stuff is online. So that's worked out, I think, really well.
Yeah, and so I received a credit card. I signed up for a new card and had it shipped there. And so when that card was on its way, I wanted to not have my mail forwarded until the card actually showed up. So I've actually taken advantage of this. We had no expectation when we signed up for this service that we could pick up the phone and call and say, hey, is this in my box? But I think I've done this 2 or 3 times since we've been on the road, and they're just happy to run over and check. So that was an unexpected perk or sort of site, but that was just incredible that they'll run over and do that.
And you just keep like a little balance in your account, maybe $50 or something like that. They withdraw the current shipping from it and top it off as you need. It's just flexible, it's easy. And I had mentioned that it's run by attorneys, so it seems, and they've also been going on for decades, so it seems as though they know how to do the right things. And we don't work for escapees, believe it or not, because we really are big fans. But when a company goes so far and above beyond, we want to recognize that, and it's such a big help that I want to make sure that our viewers know about that.
One other thing, so we haven't had this experience yet. However, if we need our mail abroad, they will ship your mail abroad as well. You just basically pay whatever the fee is going to cost to have the mail shipped. And so we haven't had that experience yet, but you just pay whatever it costs. And so we're looking forward to doing that. We probably won't be getting our mail very frequently once we're abroad. And that's why the scanning service is going to come into play, and we'll be using that later on down the road, because we may not get our mail but once a quarter or something to that effect, because it's going to be more expensive to have the mail shipped abroad.
Okay, and actually I'm going to put up a totally unrelated tip here. So sometimes we get mail sent directly to our spots because we are somewhere for 6 to 8 weeks in the country, 4 different times so far. Now, one cool thing is that we can have mail shipped directly to the house, wherever we are. But one house didn't have any mail service. If you noticed that we had been on a farm in Tennessee in the past few months, they didn't have mail service. When we wanted to get mail directly to a home, but there was not normal mail service, or maybe they have like a locked box that you can't get into or something like that, you can send it to yourself, general delivery, city, state, zip code, and they hold it for you at the post office. So that's a free service. We took advantage of that ourselves in Tennessee, and it's just good to know that that exists. So that has nothing to do with this escapees.
Something else with general delivery that you need to know is you can't use UPS or FedEx or anything like that for general delivery. It would have to be a postal service, so like some sort of USPS service. So,
but I got like birthday cards sent that way, stuff like that. Yeah. We're going to move into part 2 of our conversation, which is about becoming Texans. Now, because we sold our house, because Tim had ties to Texas, he's from Texas, he went to college in Texas, it just made sense for Texas to be our new home. And what is really cool is that the entire town knows what to do with us here. Now, for those of you who might not have made this nomadic life jump, what you might not know is that people don't know what to do with you when you don't have a home. So it's actually quite difficult to do, I don't know, kind of any paperwork and government bureaucracy and things like that. So while we have an address, there's things that people want you to have a home, and it just, this town knows what to do.
That's right. That is incredibly important, or at least we found. So we've had friends who tried to do something similar in other parts even of Texas, and they had a really difficult time trying to make this happen. As a matter of fact, I think that they weren't successful in making this happen because the folks in the county did not understand what they were doing. And so that was incredibly important, and we think that's part of the benefit of going with escapees, is how in tune this town is with this process. So
Yeah.
in January, like we've mentioned a million times, we packed up our belongings, we moved from Colorado, and we went down to Texas to start this process. And so some of the things we did is we signed up for a driver's license, we registered our car in Texas, we got car insurance in Texas, we registered to vote in Texas. Also at the RV...
We registered our business in
We
Texas.
registered our businesses,
blog.
our blog in Texas. At Escapees RV Club, they are lawyers, and they have a law office in the RV club, and they have a proprietary document that they'll file for you in the county, in Polk County, that basically says you intend to domicile in Texas. And so we jumped through all these hoops in order to become Texans. As far as we know, there isn't a set number of nights that you have to spend in Texas or anything like this to become a Texan. It's just a matter of doing all these things to get your driver's license, etc., and making sure that the county that you show up in, where you're going to do all these things, they understand what you're doing. I think if it weren't for Polk County understanding sort of the dynamics of what's going on, this would have been a very difficult process to go through, just trying to explain, I don't live anywhere.
So I think, and I do want to put up something kind of quickly. We're not going to be discussing the voter thing here because it is actually potentially its own video. Now, I want to understand in the comments, are you interested in hearing a video about how it is to vote as nomads? Because for us, it has been quite difficult. We've been working on it since April. Here it is, the middle toward the end of September, and we're still not sure. Like we've been working hard, and we've probably made 20 phone calls and emails. This one thing has not been going so smoothly, and I'm not going to be making it get into politics in the slightest because I don't want to open that can of worms. But if anyone wants to hear about it, please put it down in the comments, and we may do a dedicated video to that. If we don't get enough interest, we probably won't.
Yeah, I'm going to do a quick add-on here in that, in theory, it's not that complex, and so
it shouldn't be that hard.
We've had our own challenges along the way, but it is not easy to vote. It is a process, or it hasn't been easy for us. We have been surprised. We have been surprised how easy it is.
No, how hard it is. I've been surprised at how hard it is.
How hard it is, not how easy it is. It has been difficult to just get a ballot, so we haven't
got one yet. Yep. Yes, and we've already made 20 phone calls and emails. So we are still working on that, and we're not going to address it here because we don't have enough information. So hopefully in another month or so when that video would come out, we have a lot more information and know that has worked. So like I said, put that comment down below, and we'd like to know down below if you are a nomad, what are you using for your mail service? How is it working? Some people use friends and family. We didn't want to be a burden to anybody to do that. And again, make sure that you watch the video after this if you are really interested, because we do go into tax benefits of why we became true Texans. And I have now said y'all a few times now that I'm a true Texan. So I don't know that I'm a true Texan, but I am a Texan, and I do say y'all now. So y'all, leave a good comment down below. We'll see you next Wednesday.
Thanks, y'all.